everybody, today we're going to be talking about standard deviation. What is standard deviation? Standard deviation is the number that you add to an average of a data set number that helps you able to identify pieces of the data set that are above average or below average. And this is how you find it. So today we're going to be using the example of dogs. So when we're talking about dogs, we have 5 dogs that were measured from the shoulder height up, and their heights were 600. I'm going to write this real quick. Their numbers were 600, 470, 170, 430, and 300. So these 5 numbers are our data set. Now, for the first step to standard deviation, step 1, is to find the average of the data set. So to do that, to find average, you're going to add all these numbers up. So 600, 470, 170, 430, and 300. You're going to add all of those up, and you're going to get 1,970. To find the average from there, you're going to divide this number, what all these are added up to, divided by the number of data sets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So divided by 5. And you get 394 as your average. So for step 2, you're going to find the difference from the original numbers from the data set. You're going to find the difference between that and the average. So to do that, you're going to take all of these numbers and subtract 394. So minus 394, and you get 206. You subtract 394, you get 76. Minus 394, you get 224. Negative. Minus 394, 36, and minus 394 for the last one, you get negative 94. So that's step 2. Step 2 is finding the difference of the numbers from the original data set from the average, which was 394. For step 3, log my pen here. For step 3, you're going to find the average of the differences. They're going to square the differences. So square the differences. You're going to take your new numbers and square them by 2. $206 squared is 42,436. 76 squared is 5,776. 224 squared is 4,928. 36 squared is 1,296. And negative 94 is 8,836. Notice that all these numbers are positive, even though there are negatives. Well, I guess this one was negative 2. Even though there were 2 negatives within the numbers that we were squaring. When you square a number and it's by 2, that means you're taking 2 negatives multiplied by another negative. 2 negatives multiplied by each other equal a positive. So that's how all these became out as positive. So that is step 3, squaring the differences. Now, step 4, that's what I said earlier, step 4 is to find the average of the squared differences. So now we're going to find the average of these 5 numbers. So all of these added together is 108,520. Once again, when you're finding the average of a data set, you're going to add them all up and then multiply them, divide them by the amount of numbers there were. So we have 5 again, so we're going to divide it by 5 again, which comes out to 21,704. So this is our new number. For step 5, we're going to find the square root of the average of the squared differences. A little bit longer, but just want to keep everybody on the same page. So now we're going to get rid of this. Go back to our number 21,704. We're going to square it. We're going to find the square root. The square root just means that you're going to find how many times this number goes into itself with all these numbers. So it's basically, So 2174, the square root of 2174 is 147.32. We're going to round to the nearest tenth, so our new number is going to be 147. So 147 is our standard deviation. Of the data set up here, which was the heights of our dogs. Now, the reason why we find the standard deviation is so that when we're looking at these, we can graph them. So if we graph these numbers, give me just 1 second. Build our graph. So we're going to find our dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, dog 4, dog 5. So when you use a graph like this, you can take these numbers. So dog 1 was 600. So we're going to mark him right up here. Dog 2 was 470. So he's about right there. Dog 3, 170. Dog 4 was 430. So we're going to go a little less than that guy. Dog 5 was 300 on the dot. So now we have our dogs. Just make a nice little line graph so you can see the difference of them. So what the standard deviation tells us is when you take your average, which was 394, so we're going to put the average right here. There's our average. These are all in millimeters. So here's our average line for the heights of the dogs. What the standard deviation is going to tell us is where these dogs lie. So our standard deviation was was 147. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 147 and add it to the 394. So we get 541. So using our 541, we're going to go up here, put a line there, and then we're going to take the same number, our original average, which was 394, and we're going to subtract the standard deviation of 147. And subtract it, you get 247. So now you have these two lines above and below our average. So what this tells us is that this dog number 1, is above average, while the rest of these are about average altogether. If we had a smaller dog, they would be below average. But the point of standard deviation is to show what numbers in your data set are above average and below average in an extreme way. Because obviously anything above and below is average, but within here, this kind of gives you that wiggle room. If you're below or above these lines, you're way out of proportion to everything. So this can also be used when you're dealing with products in warehouses and makeup products. To say something has a pH level was up here when really they need to stay in here. That product would typically be thrown out because it's too far out of the zone of average. And that is how you find standard deviation, and that is why we use standard deviation. Thank you so much for watching.